So we're just gonna have a seat, and if you have questions about performing, obviously not everyone in here is a singer, but if you want to talk about marketing yourself, being an entrepreneur as a musician, moving overseas and living as an expat, yeah, we'll try to accommodate everyone's questions.
Let's do it. No, let's just dive in. So who's got one for me? Way in the back.
What was your first European gig?
What?
What was your first European gig?
What was your first European gig?
Oh, my first European gig. My first European gig. There's a voice competition in Berlin called the Kammer Oper Schloss Rheinsberg Wettbewerb, and I won that, and that allowed me to go over there and work and make some money, and then do the work needed to get the visa and make the connections to stay. So I registered for a competition, went there, and then got a role from it, and that's how I got started. Yeah.
What's your process for putting together a show, contacting people, getting set up, and, you know?
Do you mean making my own show, or being part of opera?
Both.
Both?
Yes.
All right. Of course, doing your own thing is always rewarding. It's fun. If you want to sing an opera role, there's nobody stopping you from doing that. You know, you can hire a pianist, get a couple costumes, and just do it. And you can do that for fun whenever you want. If you want to make money doing it, and you want to make that a career, that's difficult. To build an audience of 200 people cold is very difficult to do. So if you're going to do that, even though that's a very entrepreneurial solo thing to do, you actually need to tap into some sort of network. So usually you would find a venue that has its own mailing list and will promote you, and then often you form a program around something that their audience would be interested in. That's the way you would do it if you want to make money, and you would develop relationships with people at different working venues. But of course, if you want to do an opera on a stage, you just have to rent a room for $100 and you can do it. Yeah? As far as networking to be part of a production, at a certain point, you have to have an agent. And especially in Europe, that's a long tradition that's very hard to get around. There's actually a lot of laws about it. And so you will eventually get to a point where you have enough roles on your resume where it's time to find an agent, and there's many different types of agents. And then agents will then send you to auditions and get you work. And that's primarily how that works. They'll take 12%. It's a set system. In Europe, yeah, you're allowed to have many agents. In America, often they have exclusive contracts, so you often only have one agent. And you really have to trust them then, because then you're stuck for a year or two. In Europe, it's often by regions, so I have about 8 or 10 agents that work in different regions, and so an agent usually owns a region, or often if you want to work at a specific opera house, then you will need to be a part of the agency that they work with. Often an opera house only works with a few agencies. So agents are also not just cold calling opera houses. No, that's more of a European strategy. Any other questions? Yeah?
How did you go about finding an agent?
Finding an agent. In Europe, it's of course different. If you're going to be an opera singer, there's of course two different conversations to have. Are you talking about Europe or America? They're two very different systems. In Europe, you just send your materials to an agency. And so what's very important is that your materials are good, your materials are competitive. You can be... I like it. Have an intimate in Europe, there's lists of agents online. You can find, I think on Wikipedia, they have a list of all the German opera agents. And you send them your materials. And so even if you're a fantastic singer, At some point, if you're contacting professional agents, then your materials need to be competitive. So you can't have your friend take a headshot of you outside of some building at the courthouse. Yeah, that works when you're trying to get into young artist programs or pay to sings, but at some point, you'll have to save up the money and have a photo studio take your photo. You know, you'll have to record your recordings professionally. You'll have to have somebody build your website. Yeah, and there's some investments there. And so when you have the materials, then it's time to start contacting agents. And in America, it's the same way. My first American agents, I did the same thing. I had good materials, I wrote them, and then they call you for an audition, and then you do well at the audition, and then you sign a contract. If you know somebody who's willing to make an introduction for you, that's always one step better, but at the end of the day, your materials must be good. But you can just write the agents, and then once you have an agent, then they will start working for you, hopefully. Right? Yeah?
How do you go about supporting yourself before you have an agent?
Do you mean like financially?
Yeah, both financially and like going out and getting those roles that you need.
Yeah, I mean that's a hard thing, and that's where a lot of people kind of don't make it past, you know? You have to be very entrepreneurial, especially these days, and it's a shame that at a lot of in school, you don't receive a lot of financial training, which is, of course, you can't expect, yeah? But budgeting, saving, it's just the reality, yeah? There are people in the opera world that will just have an advantage, you know? They have a lot of money, and they go to every audition, and they sleep in a nice hotel, and they have nice clothes, yeah? And then there's some of us, you know, I've slept in my Jeep before, you know, this type of stuff before an audition. So you, of course, have to find a work-life balance. It's a very Hollywood idea that you would sacrifice everything and then get the gig and then your career starts, but that's actually not how it works, yeah? There's phases. Sometimes I have a lot of extra money, and so I can do some extra auditions, yeah? But also you will have to be realistic about which auditions you should take. So when I was younger and I was looking at young artist programs, I didn't hide from the information. So I would look at who their singers were last year, who were the baritones that sang there the last 5 years. I would look at their arias, the materials, the way they look, the way they sound, and if it was way beyond me, I would say, I'm not going to invest $1,000 for this. You know, I'm going to try to do something that I maybe have a better chance at, and then do it again later when I'm more ready. So being smart about how you spend your money is important, but having good budgeting skills and money skills is something that you must develop as a musician your whole life. That never goes away. In Germany, you can either do what's called festing, where you have a secure contract at a theater and they pay you for 5 years, but you often don't make a lot of money, or you do what I do, which is called guesting, and you make more money, but you work less. So there's peaks and valleys. There's long periods where you're not earning, and so you're having to spread out money you made months ago. So budgeting skills is something that's important to learn now when you're working with less risk and less money. But saving money and planning is important. And you can't take every audition. Learning to say no is hard, but eventually you have to learn that. Does that help?
Yes.
Good. Yeah, you.
Did you already speak German when you moved to Germany? And
No.
How did you go?
No, it was a bad idea. It was a really bad idea. When I was younger, I was a very spontaneous person, impulsive even, and I decided I wanted to go to Germany, so I just went. It's really hard, you know, to learn. You would think, if you've never learned a second language, you would think that you could just go there and somehow absorb it, and that's not how it works. Yeah? I wish now and then I really wished that I had taken some sort of class, even like Duolingo, you know, these free language learning apps. I had done something because I knew nothing. Yeah. And when you're trying to build a career, that's hard enough to do in America or another country. But to do that and try to learn a language, that's really tough. Yeah. Because the hardest part about living in another country, pursuing a singing career, has nothing to do with singing. Yeah. Singing is part of your life, but it's not your life. You need friends, you need to network, you need to be able to speak to people, you know, to book a hotel. So I learned it the hard way, but you can't absorb a language. So I had to learn the grammar. I had to start small. I set small goals for myself. I'm going to go to the supermarket and I'm going to ask for a bag today. Because for weeks I was just carrying my stuff. I didn't know how to do it. And something that every American that goes to Europe, they have the same problem. They won't get their hair cut for a year. Because that's a lot of language, Because you sit down to get your hair cut, they say, what would you like? And you say, can you do it short on the sides, long on top? How long? 2 centimeters, It's a metric system. So setting small goals for yourself and trying to nail these small sentences, small numbers. Often when people learn a language or a role even, they try to learn too much. And you can learn so much more in 5 minutes a day than you can in 2 hours on a Saturday, if you just do 5 minutes of language learning a day, you can learn a language very fastly. If you work on an opera role for 5-10 minutes a day, you can learn a role very fast. But if you cram on the weekend, that's a hard way to learn. Hope that helps.
I have a couple questions via proxy of someone who can't be here right now.
Okay.
Who did a summer program in Berlin.
Sure.
So she was actually wondering what would be the best way to go about moving abroad and visas versus passports, and also if there are any cities that are better to start in, like Berlin is comparable to like New York City, where it's really big, so maybe not the best options.
So first I'll go for the city. The thing is when you have a career as a musician, you can approach it 2 ways. You can approach it as an artist. I want to make music, and that's free. You can do that right now. But if you want to make a living as a musician, then it becomes a career. And all careers, whether you're a nurse, a singer, a lawyer, they're kind of the same. And they start to fall under basic economic principles. One of those being supply and demand. When you're in New York, there are lots of singers. There's too many singers. So the price per gig goes down. Even if there's more gigs. When there's 50 baritones, they say you can do this but for 500. If you live in a small city and you're one of the only couple people, then you get paid a lot more for the same gig. But there's no room for growth, this type of stuff. So when you move abroad, Berlin is then the New York of Germany. There are way too many singers in Berlin. And you can work, because there's a lot of music in Berlin, but you make less, and it's more expensive to live there. So it's tough. I moved to Frankfurt a couple years ago, because Frankfurt is near a lot of these medium-sized cities. Near Frankfurt you have these cities like Mainz, Darmstadt, Mannheim, Stuttgart, Wiesbaden. They all have an opera house. Almost every city in Germany has an opera house. And it's easier to work in a medium city than it is to work at an A house in Germany. Even the best singers aren't working there all the time. There's too many singers, So as far as training and that stuff goes, obviously the best training is in New York and Berlin, but to stay there long term, it's a fight and it's hard. And you get to a point in life where you start wanting relationships or stability or kids, and then you find singers going to smaller places where they can rely on work and not have to fight for it so much. When you move abroad, of course, the visa is a problem. With a US passport, you're allowed to go to Germany for 3 months. No questions asked. And so often what you do is you go there for 3 months and you have 3 months to get it done. If you can't, then you need a visa of some sort. An artist visa exists, but it is meant for working artists. So that's something I do. I have work for the next 3 years, and so I go to the foreigner's office and I prove, I say, here's my work for the next 3 years. You have to have a large amount of money in your bank account so that they know, you have to have 10,000 euros in your bank account. It's a minimum so that they know that you're not going to be like living on the street or something. You have to have like German tax papers. It's a very hard thing to get the artist visa. You have to be a working artist already. So what you want then is a freelance visa, and you can get that as a student, or you can get that teaching English lessons. That's how I got mine in the beginning. I found a language school, and I worked a couple hours a week, and it was enough to get a visa, and I did that for years until I was able to get the artist visa. But it is impossible to have a US passport and a European passport at the same time. You can't do that. unless you were born in America with German parents or something. But if you don't have both now, then you can never get both, unless you give up your US passport. So you can't get German citizenship, but you can get an unbefristetes Visum, which is a unlimited visa. But that takes 7 years. You have to pay into their pension system for 7 years. You have to have health insurance. You have to take an integration course. It's also tough. So I have found you have about 3 years to get it done. Otherwise, you've got to come back, regroup, and then go back again. I think that was all, right?
Yeah.
Good. Hope that helped. Anything else? Yeah.
What advice would you have for young performers coming out of their undergrad and like the best route to take to go through?
Well, I mean the best route's pretty obvious, but it's a hard one. You would like to think that if you're a great singer, then that means that there's a career waiting for you, but that's not how it works. Careers, like I said earlier, it doesn't matter if it's music or law or a doctor. A career is a career. And very much so in the music world, your connections are what get you work. There are the most amazing voices I've ever heard in my life are not at the Met. They're in Dortmund in Germany, yeah, singing for 200 people. Because they don't care about meeting people. They don't care about building a name. The fastest way to get a high-paying career would be to get a young artist program that people know. You're going to meet someone there that's going to bring you to another young artist program that people know. That's going to bring you to one of these training programs at a big opera house. And then that's going to get you doing roles on their stages. And now you're singing at Houston Grand just by meeting 3 people. That's one route. Then there's the route I took, which was not that route. I did pay to sings. You know, I paid money to do roles. Then I had roles on my resume. Then I did roles for free. Then I did roles for $500. You know. Then in Germany, some of the first performances I did were at places called a Kammeroper, which is a theater smaller than this, and people are eating while you sing. You know. But I met people, and I kept singing and meeting people and singing and meeting, and so then I slowly worked my way up to a point where then I was on the same stage with these other people, but they had been there already for 6 or 7 years because they took the fast route. So when you're auditioning for things, being strategic is important. You have to have a goal. You know, at some point you have to make a goal. Do you want to be in Europe? Do you want to be in America? Do you want to sing on a big stage? Do you want to just have a life as a singer? You have to decide these things, and then you have to make a trajectory at some point. And you have to have a plan A, a plan B, but you can't just kind of grab auditions as they come. You have to at some point make a path for yourself and try to go down it. Yeah?
How do you find these auditions? Do you search them on the web or through people you know?
It matters the level you're at. Yap Tracker is of course good. These days there's lots of Facebook groups and online forums and stuff where people are talking about this stuff. There's lots of websites for this stuff. When you're young, yeah, you have to find them online, but it takes work. And honestly, still to this day, I will go on a theater's website in Germany, and I'll look at openings, and they'll just have an audition listed there. Had I not done the research, I would never have found it. You contact people these days. I write in Germany the KBB, it's like the artist's office of the theater. They deal with artists. I'll write them and I say, hey, you got any auditions? And they say, yeah. If there's a program you're interested in, reach out. Yeah. None of this happens passively anymore. It used to be that way more, but even my agents do less and less work. My agents are more like lawyers now. They deal with the contract, but I get myself a lot of work. Yeah, I have my good materials. I write a good email. I change the name, you know, and then I send it out. I send out 100. I get 10 replies. Yeah, I get one of those auditions. But it's a lot of work to get one job, and it never stops. You know, but you have to be active. Anything else? Yeah.
I had a question about your budget. Like, so I know you get a different influx of income every time. So how do you determine what to save? How do you manage your money?
Yeah, I mean, I of course wrote out my fixed costs every month. So student loan debt, rent, this type of stuff. How much does that all cost every month? And then, like I said, it's important to me that I'm still making smart life choices, so I don't neglect things like saving for retirement and that type of stuff. When you're in your 30s, that becomes kind of something you want to start doing. So I include these in my fixed costs, and then the rest is I save. And it's just simple. If I don't have money for an audition, I can't do it. I've missed perfect auditions before, because I can't do it. But you putting things down on paper and not lying to yourself is important. Yeah. Some people don't want to know how much money they're spending at the bar or something. Look at it. Yeah. Look at how much money is going in and out every month, and be honest with yourself. And come up with a percentage that you can spend it auditioning. But when you start making more money, that doesn't mean you get to spend more money. That means you get to save more money. Yeah. Where you live makes a difference, of course. If you're in New York, that's tough. You're spending a lot of money. Yeah. When I started out in Germany, I lived in a town called Oldenburg, and I think I had a 3-bedroom apartment with utilities. I paid $300 a month because it left room for auditions. It was a boring city. I was super bored, but I had money to go audition. Does that help?
Yeah.
And I want to say something quickly. Something that he's emphasizing, but that you really need to take seriously is Jared is one of the most self-disciplined people I know, professionally speaking. And he has been that way since I met him before he moved to Germany. And it's that way about money management, about promoting himself, about practicing, learning roles, marketing, all that stuff. And so if those are skills that are lacking for you right now, that could be the thing that makes the difference. Is can you say, I can't go out to dinner for 2 weeks because I need that money for this, or the things he's saying are extremely important, but it doesn't just apply to money. It's also about your craft. So
your self-control, discipline, and persistence. The career happens for some people in 2 years. They're out of their masters and they're on stage the Met in 2 years. And those are the people that are the loudest. Those are the people that you see the most on social media and you hear the most about. But that is not most of us. Yeah, most of us are just normal working opera singers, and it took us 10 years to get to not a very high level. And persistence takes endurance, and so you can't just blow everything on 3 months and then say, "I guess it didn't work." That's an extremely risky way. It's better often to do a slow play. Yeah, do less auditions, show up better prepared. Yeah, make a better showing. Persistence. Is your question?
Yeah, I changed my question. When you're going to those young artist programs,
Yeah.
how do you kind of get to the people you want to talk to in the best way?
You mean networking?
Yes.
Like if you sing a show, and there's someone important there, you want to talk to them?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. Because a lot of people that are important aren't so interested in young singers,
Yeah.
And everybody has a different energy. The people I connect with are not the people you would connect with. Yeah? And so you have to find people who believe in you and what you're doing and are willing to pass your name along. And it's not a house of cards. We can't sell ourselves. You meet people, you say hello, and there's chemistry, there's connection, there's a willingness to collaborate, or there's not. And sometimes I've met people and they're just not willing to do anything for me because I'm not what they're looking for. And that's something that you really have to learn as a young singer, is that sometimes you're the color blue and they're looking for red. And that doesn't mean you're not great, It just means that you are not what they want. And that's most of this career. Because critics will tear you apart. And it's not because you're terrible, it's because they like this type of singer and you're this type of singer. So meet people, say hi, shake hands, that's never bad, but don't take it personally if they don't want anything to do with you. Just try the next. But when you find people that are willing to promote you and willing to work for you, then you want to value those relationships and you want to heard and want to support them. You know? Give them energy. Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
What was your favorite city to live in?
City?
Yeah.
Anywhere?
Oh man, Hamburg. Hamburg was the best.
Why?
There's a place in Hamburg called the Reeperbahn, and it's got everything. And so, like I said, I'm still spontaneous. I rein it in, but when I go out, I like to just go out, and I'm like, well, there's a Thai place, you know, there's a sports bar, there's a arcade, whatever. And so in Hamburg, it was always easy. Frankfurt, for instance, is a banking town. It's full of bankers, and bankers like to plan, you know. And so there's no street you just go down and find cool things all the time. Cities like New York, Berlin, Hamburg, they're very artistic, they're always changing, and I pull a lot of motivation from that. Some cities like Frankfurt are cold, and so you have to motivate yourself, and that's tough. So cities where there's art happening, where there's people being creative, were my favorite, because then it made me want to be creative. And so it's good to find an environment that assists you in being motivated instead of fighting against you. But Hamburg was cool. Any other? Yeah.
How did you start to self-promote yourself when you were younger?
How did I start to self-promote myself?
I guess, yeah.
I mean, out of necessity, you know?
Asking specifically what.
Yeah, like where did you start? Like what did you start doing when you were self-promoting?
It's kind of different for me than it would be for you, because when I was starting out, you know, Facebook was not a thing, you know? That was new. Social media was not a thing. Singers having websites was kind of like an egotistical thing to do, like, you know, oh, you got a website, wow. Websites back then were also just like a photo and some music, yeah? So I kind of adjusted it with technology. In the beginning, it was just an email with like, in the beginning, it was an actual promo packet, it was called. I would send a letter with my headshot and a CD and like, you know, a letter. And then that developed into email, and then with email came Dropbox and Gmail, and so then YouTube came out, and then people started asking for videos. We were able to upload digital photos that were bigger, you know, because before you couldn't upload your headshot. It would take them 5 minutes to look at it. So as technology advanced, then I just kind of grew with it. But if I was starting out now, then yeah, you know, just start. Just start. There's websites like Weebly, Wix, Squarespace, I think even, where you start building a website. Because unless you have the money to get a web designer, which is about $5,000 for a website or so, you got to do it yourself. And I have gotten pretty good at building my own websites. But if you want to have a career as a musician, you have to be entrepreneurial. And so there's skills you will have to learn that have nothing to do with music. Yeah? Like how to embed code and this type of stuff. Yeah? How to embed a link. You know, how to format a YouTube video so it doesn't look bad. Yeah? What are the dimensions of a YouTube video? Yeah? You'll have to learn this stuff. But the standard now is much higher than when I was starting out. Because when I was starting out, it was good headshot, good recording. You know? But now it's YouTube, it's clickable links, and the rules of marketing that apply to everything else also apply to us. And people don't want to search for something. And if they can't go to your website and hear you sing, if it's not intuitive in 2 clicks, they'll just pass you up. There's too much. So show people your website, try it out, take criticism, don't be hurt by it. But good photos, good recordings, easy to use. A lot of singers, they build a website and they never look at it on a mobile phone. 90% of people are going to look at it on a mobile phone. So I go to my friend's website and it's like a picture of their nose. Because the photo yeah, I'm serious. They'll format it. I said, do you know that this is what people see? And they're like, that's why I'm not getting work. Probably. If I opened a singer's website and it was their nose, I would just close it. I wouldn't be like, well, maybe they're a great performer. Yeah, I mean, that's not realistic. So look at it on a tablet, look at it on a TV. You can learn. A huge advantage these days is there is a YouTube tutorial for everything. for literally everything. For Photoshop, for Squarespace, for Premiere Pro, for recording techniques, microphone placement, how to record a piano, how to record a voice, how to edit. And so at some point, you have to say, how much do I want to spend money on this, or how much can I just start doing? And it's good to start sometimes, because you have to have a little bit of a knowledge about these things if you want to lead somebody. You know, if somebody's building your website, they say, what do you want? You say, I don't know, I want it to look cool. You can't do that. You have to have some concepts of what a good headshot is, what I want out of my recording, you know. So just start. You know, you can make websites privately. They don't have to go online, and you can just kind of see what it looks like. Any other questions? No? Yes?
What is your advice for singers who get their nerves get the best of them before they perform? Because my problem is that I get into my head before I perform, and I end up psyching myself out.
Yeah, that's hard. And that doesn't go away. Yeah, I mean, you're talking about performance anxiety, which is something you will all deal with at some point in your life. You can sing off of ego for a while, but at some point you're going to be the small fish, and you're going to not be the best singer in the room, and everybody's going to know it, you know? And you're going to make art anyway. You're going to be sick, and you're going to be cracking out there all night, you know? So what? The thing about anxiety, about fear is, you know, a concern about something that will happen in the future, and you're not being present. And when we perform, we want to learn something called flow, where we are in the moment, and we're not thinking about the mistake that happened, and we're not thinking about the high note that's coming until we have to. Yeah? And the thing about anxiety is it often comes from the conversations we have with ourselves in our head. And some people find meditation helps. That doesn't help me. But it's a skill you have to learn. And you have to learn not to be judgmental. And saying, I suck is judgmental, but also being like, oh, that was good, that's also judgmental. And when you sing, you can't do any of that. And it's about having silence. It's not, confidence is not like, I'm doing great, I'm nailing this, yeah. That's as dangerous as I suck, everyone's looking at me, oh man, you know. Those are actually the same habit, yeah? What you want is just nothing. And you have it sometimes. When you're washing dishes, you have this nothingness. And when a thought comes into your head, you acknowledge it, and then you don't give it any energy. You don't talk back to that voice. I read a book called The Inner Game of Tennis that I really like. It has to do with athletes, but athletes deal with this too. They're in front of the whole world, and they have to do something, and everybody's watching. Yeah? But I will say, you'll have to find your own path, but it's a skill, and it's a skill that can be developed. It's not hopeless. And it's harder for some people than other people. Different things trigger your anxiety too. I learned that I stop running when I'm late. Yeah? If I'm late, if I'm backstage and I'm late, if I'm late to an audition, I show up late. Because when I run, then it gets me in this anxious place. I'm like, oh, let's do this, you know? So you have your triggers, but then also not giving energy to those thoughts. Being present and knowing your translations actually helps a lot. If you know every word you're singing, and you are painting and coloring every word, there's no energy left to think about other things. But if you're kind of just saying vowel sounds that you learned, then there's lots of room to be afraid. So learn your translations, learn them well, say the words poetically, and there's often not room. Being well prepared helps. Yeah?
Sorry, was there ever a time, are there still times that you feel like, oh, this is just not working out, or like that, and how would you get through that?
The career, or like my voice, or what do you mean?
All of it.
No. Yeah, I mean, look, one of the reasons I started singing is because it's a never-ending game. You'll never be done. Yeah, and just when you almost have it, your voice will change as you get older, your rep will change, Or I see like a very good friend of mine, he's got a wife and kids, and that's a whole other thing. He's never sleeping, he's got a baby, he's sick all the time, and he still sings 200 shows a year, you know? And that's life. You can't give up life to be a singer. Life happens. You get older, it gets harder to do this stuff. So the voice changes, and you just have to accept that. Also, life changes. Yeah, when you're 20, when you're 22, 24, 25, you have potential, you know? And you get to a point where potential stops existing, and you just are, yeah? When you're in your 30s, there's no potential anymore. It's just, what are you? Is that how good you are? Good. It's the truth. It's something you don't have to deal with now, but it's something I'm dealing with. Is that when I was 25, they'd be like, oh, you're a young whatever, you know? Well, you're gonna really rock it someday. And now I show up and they're like, yeah, that's what you're doing. You know? And no one's talking about my future anymore. Yeah? And so sometimes you kind of feel less special. This is gonna end happy. Okay? Also, your friends, you know, your friends start getting married, your friends start buying houses, they buy cars, and you're still a musician. And, and they're like saving for retirement, they're buying like their second car and taking trips, you know, for weeks, and you're still singing. But it's an important thing to go through because then you will have to reevaluate why you're doing it. Yeah, and you'll have to not be doing it for Instagram anymore, not be doing it to impress your family or friends, but you will actually have to find a more pure reason of why you're doing it. And when you find that reason, that's actually what will carry you through a lifelong career in music. Yeah. So it's important that you know these changes are coming. It's important that you accept them. It's just part of your career, and look at them like challenges. Yeah, we got to this career because. The languages are hard, singing's hard, and you will never master any of it. Yeah? If you talk to Domingo, you talk to Mills, you talk to these people, they all say, I've sung exactly the way I wanted 3 times in my career. Yeah? Domingo said that, and he just did his 4,000th opera, I think, right? Just how it is. You won't master it, and you have to embrace that. That's what makes it great, you know? So just learn to like the pursuit of it. You know, that's the art of it. Yeah, like all these Zen people in Japan, it's like the journey, you know? Did you have another question?
Yeah, what was, do you have like a routine that you do before every show, or anything like that?
Yes and no. You know, I'm really against superstitions. You know, so you don't want to be a person that I need my lemon tea and my honey and my face mask and I need my, like, to do this and that and stuff. You can have those things, but it can become a crutch. Different voices need different things. One of the best baritones I've ever met, he sings everywhere. He sings Dutchman, he sings 200 shows a year, smokes a pack of cigarettes every single day. You know, and he's been doing it since he was 15 and he's 50. Good for him. I can't believe that. That's great. You will have, there's always the exception. That guy can do that. Then there's people that if they're not extremely delicate with their voice, they really can't sing. Yeah? They really need 8 hours, they need water, they cannot talk, they cannot go to the bar. Yeah? There's those people, and then there's everything in the middle. It's a spectrum. Because one person has an unbreakable voice doesn't mean the rest of us do. And I don't. I try not to change my routine too much because you want to trust that if you can sing on Monday, you know, then you can sing on Friday, right? So like I sleep the same amount, I talk the same amount, I drink coffee when I sing because I drink coffee every day and I can sing every day. And you want to go on stage and trust that if I have a cup of coffee every day, you know, and a bowl of cereal with milk, and I sing well every day, then of course I can sing well on an audition day. But with that said, of course I'm not going out to the bar the night before I have to sing. For years I used to think, oh man, beer really wrecks my voice. No, it was yelling at the bar for 8 hours. That took me like 10 years to figure out. Because I'd be at home and I would have like 3 beers, and I'd be like, man, I could really And so for me, I often try not to talk too much. But the best thing you can do is develop habits of being healthy. When you're young, it's easier to stay healthy. Also when you're singing less. But when you have to sing almost every day, sleeping, water, washing your hands, you have to just develop healthy habits because I was a jazz bassist for a long time. And I remember I played a gig sick with the flu, nailed it, just no problem. As a singer, it's not like that. It's a different game. And you have to value health and rest, Have your routine, have something that makes you feel safe and secure, but be careful of getting superstitious. Like you need your lucky glove or whatever. You don't want to go down that route, because that's a dangerous route, because I've seen that. People don't have their whatever they need, and then they get in a weird headspace, then the performance anxiety comes, and, Because a big part of singing is that you will fight with your boyfriend or girlfriend the day of a performance. Your car will break down, the stage will be dry and dusty, Portales is like a mile above sea level. You can't breathe, these things happen. And whatever, that's being a singer. No one is going to hear your 100%, but your career is going to be based on your 80%. Life's hard, stage is dry, I'm a bit sick, still got to do it. That's most of your singing, yeah. So you want to have a system that accommodates that. You guys got any other questions? Yeah.
We'll take one more.
You have a set rec list that you go with, and I know it'll change depending on what you're auditioning for, but is it better to try to learn new stuff constantly, or just keep what you know and then work on rules that you
I'm constantly learning rep that will someday be useful. So like Brahms Requiem, Fauré Requiem, Verdi Requiem, this stuff, it's going to be performed forever, and they always need that type of voice. So that's non-specific. Elijah, oratorio, this type of stuff. There's so much of that. There's so many Bach things that you should learn. That's the stuff I'm always cooking on. But as far as the rep that changes, once you start getting roles on your resume, once you have 10, 20, 30 roles, you really want to look back and you want to make sure that your concept of your fa, right, matches the roles you're getting hired for. Yeah? Because I was told my whole life, Jared, you're a Helden baritone. I was like, well, that's cool. And then after about 10, 12 years, I looked at my resume and I was like, you know what? I have 30 bass baritone roles on my resume. Right? And so then I adjusted my rep to bass baritone rep, and what do you know? It was a lot more successful. Often your roles, your resume will tell you your fa more than people will. You of course have to have something that you start with, but as you get older, you will find it. Your fa is often not just how you sing, it's how you look, it's how you act, it's this type of stuff. But usually that will be obvious to you, and you have to be open to it. I've seen a lot of great singers not have a career because they hold on to the idea that I am this. And it's like, but your resume says this. And just because you change doesn't mean you can't change back. But just listen to and trust people's ears. The line between confidence and ego is a very hard one. Yeah? And these people that are auditioning you, all they do is listen to voices all day. You listen to your voice all day, And when they say, you might be a little bass baritone, you don't want to chase criticism. That's also dangerous, right? Well, they said I need to sing lighter. They said I need to sing darker. They said I need to sing, that's a dangerous way to be too. But if you are just consistently hearing from reputable people that you're a bass baritone, then yeah, okay, do it. Do you want to work? If you want to sing Iago, just do it, Just hire a pianist, do it. But be open to the path that's being laid out before you, because it's often very clear if you just get away from your concept of who you are as a singer. Is that time?
Cool. Okay, so thank you very much for all your great questions. Jared is on Instagram and Facebook, so follow him, and he's a friendly human, so eventually he might respond to another question. And he is performing tonight at 7. Please come if you can. And thank you very much, Jared.